Ryan. There's Ryan, there's Molly, there's Claudia, and Don. So that's, oh, and Robbie's back there. I don't think we could see him.
All right. Okay, we're going to have a slightly different intro today. Tracy could still be in the intermediate state, although the monks have said that she has already a fortunate rebirth. Either way, I think, any prayers we can say for support are going to be beneficial. So we'll be doing that. But first, I want to read a teaching by Lama Yeshe on taking refuge. This is from a really great set of volumes on Lama Yeshe's life. And this is from in the first volume, and it occurred when he had a meditation course in Kopan near Kathmandu in Nepal in 1973. And this is his teaching on taking refuge. Before taking refuge, it's necessary to understand why you're doing so, how to do so, and what the benefits are. That's very important. If you don't know all this, your practice becomes less powerful, and you can start to have doubts about it rather than feeling comfortable with it. You need to know what you are doing. Therefore, I'm going to give you a short introduction. Taking refuge means having a continuously enthusiastic feeling for discovering the pure energy and omniscient wisdom that we call Buddha. It doesn't really matter what we call it. There are so many words. Actually, it means perfect wisdom, understanding wisdom, and how seeking this is beneficial for our life rather than living with the empty, cold feelings that we often experience. Taking refuge brings a warm feeling into our heart and the continuous wish to grow and develop instead of thinking, oh, I'm hopeless, I can't do anything. The kind of thinking that brings you down. Human ability is great, and wanting to make the most of the opportunity of being human is wonderful. You have thought about the perfect qualities of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and realized that you too can acquire those qualities and are no longer under the illusion that Buddha or Jesus Christ are way up there in the sky somewhere and you are down here, nothing. Thinking that you are nothing, that you're just like an animal, is totally the wrong way to think. You're putting yourself down, completely underestimating your ability. You have the incredible potential to develop in exactly the same way that Lord Buddha and Jesus did. They both appeared on earth and passed away. Their physical atoms don't exist here anymore, do they? But even today, we still enjoy their wisdom, light, power, and compassion. When Lord Buddha was here, his body was not an ordinary body. Through the power of his bodhicitta, awakened heart and mind that wishes to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, whenever people saw his body, they gained higher realizations, such as single-pointed concentration. But when he was finished on the physical level, his knowledge, the power of his wisdom lived on, such that we can still feel it today. This is the result of the wisdom and true compassion of his bodhicitta mind. So I'm saying that discovering that you have the ability or potential to develop that within you, that you can grow continuously without stopping, no matter what happens to your physical body, your mind can be completely relaxed. Even though you get old, changing, on the mental level, you can continuously develop and better understand your own nature. And no matter that the external world goes up and down, your internal world is always supported by your understanding. You are supported by your wisdom in the middle way rather than falling this way or that. We talk about eternal happiness, eternal bliss, eternal joy. These qualities last forever, unlike the momentary, transient pleasures of samsara. And they arise from knowledge wisdom. So, taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Hi. Taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha means you are taking refuge in Lord Buddha's ultimate wisdom, true compassion, and everlasting bliss. I'll say that again. Taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha means you are taking refuge in Lord Buddha's ultimate wisdom, true compassion, and everlasting bliss. Think what a fantastic state of mind that is. Just imagining it brings you energy. I mean, you haven't yet attained it, but just visualizing the omniscient mind, thinking about it, brings its reflection into your mind. You feel more peaceful and relaxed. A sensation of happiness comes into your mind, a warm feeling, a really warm feeling. By discovering that such qualities lie within you, makes you also respect other sentient beings' abilities and stops you from putting them down too. Saying, you can't do anything, you're hopeless. That's not right. By discovering your own abilities, you respect others and then generate warm feelings toward them rather than hatred. It's so simple. So now let's say the refuge prayer once in English and then 2 times in the Tibetan. And you have those on your sheets. What we want to visualize here is Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front of us. You don't have to have a detailed visualization, just have the sense that the Buddha is present before you as we take refuge here. All right, we'll do once in English, twice in Tibetan. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by listening to teachings and the other paramitas, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye chedang soki chognam la Jangchu bardu dagni kyabsu chi Dagi chenyen gipe sonam ki Drola penchir sangye drupar sho Sangye chedang soki chognam la Jangchu bardu dagni kyabsu chi Dagi chenyen gipe sonam ki Drola penchir sangye drupar sho. Now we're going to continue with prayers and bringing Tracy into our prayers. Tracy, like I said, could possibly still be in the bardo, could possibly be in her next rebirth, but any prayers that we say with the intention of benefit for Tracy are going to connect with her consciousness and be of benefit. So I want to start with the mantra for Buddha Shakyamuni. And that mantra is, it goes, Tayata Om Muni Muni Mahamuniye Soha. So I want to explain that a little bit. First of all, let's look at the Muni, the word Muni. Muni is a Sanskrit word which means sage or saint. And when it's referring to what it refers to in these sages or saints is that a Muni, someone who is a Muni, has developed an understanding of the nature of reality, not based on reading religious or scientific texts, but through their own realization. This is what Shakyamuni Buddha did. Gautama Siddhartha was of the Shakya clan, and he became known as Shakyamuni, the saint, the wise sage of the Shakya clan. That's why he has that name Shakyamuni. So again, Muni means someone who has realized the truth, the nature of how things actually exist, not through reading religious or scientific texts, but through their own direct realizations. This is what Shakyamuni did. So when we're saying Muni Muni Mahamuniye Soha, we're referring to those realizations that Shakyamuni Buddha had. Tayata, which starts it out, means Tai means thus, and Nyata means as it is. So thus it is so, or thus this is how it is. And usually it's in front of many, many mantras, and it indicates, pay attention to this. This is important. This is how it is. This is true, what you're about to hear. So Tayata Om, Om is also a Sanskrit term which talks about the about transformation. And in Buddhist terms, it's talking about the ability for each one of us to transform our body, speech, and mind, our regular body, speech, and mind, into the body, an enlightened speech, enlightened mind. So this is what Buddha Shakyamuni did. Enlightened body, enlightened speech, enlightened mind. That's Om, Om. So Muni is iterated 3 times. We have Muni, Muni, Mahamuniye. So Muni, in this instance, it's if you look at the image of Buddha Shakyamuni, he's sitting. His left hand is sort of resting on his right hand is resting on his right thigh, calf or knee, and his left hand is holding a begging bowl filled with this white nectar. So the left hand is control. And what is control? Muni is referring here to control, a great control. Mahamuni. Control over all afflictive emotions and all obscurations. That control over the ego, basically. And understanding that samsara is driven, arises, and comes into being due to this ego self-grasping at I, me, mine, inherently existing. And arising out of that comes all of the afflictive emotions that we have: hatred, anger, jealousy, attachment, desire, craving. That's how it comes. So the hand that's touching the ground here is great control over all those afflictive emotions. The begging bowl that's holding this nectar is the wisdom of the Buddha. And the wisdom of the Buddha is the realization that the Buddha had that it's a non-dual realization, an understanding that there is no difference between self and other. It's a huge, important realization that we have to start thinking about. But Buddha Shakyamuni had this realization of non-duality. So this is the wisdom of the Buddha. And also the compassion, because compassion arises from an understanding of non-duality. True compassion arises from an understanding of non-duality. The regular kind of compassion we have is only for those we care about, and those we hate, we don't have compassion for. But true compassion arises from wisdom. They go together. So this is what this Om, Teata, thus it is, Om, the transformation into an enlightened body, enlightened speech, enlightened mind. Muni is control over all afflictive emotions. The second Muni is this development of wisdom, this non-duality. Mahamuniye is the development of wisdom and the non-duality. Mahamuniye. That's what it is. Yeah. Anyways, control, great control is this Mahamuniye. And then Swaha means so be it. This is it. So be it. So Teato Om Muni Muni Mahamuniye Soha. Teata Om Muni Muni Mahamuniye Soha. We're going to do a round of this with this very brief understanding of what the mantra is about. So what we want to do is imagine we are all together, our Sangha, our particular Sangha, we're all together. Tracy is in front of us. Then surrounding us and Tracy are all infinite sentient beings. And then in the space in front of us is Shakyamuni Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha embodies all Buddhas. The Buddha of compassion, the Buddha of wisdom, every kind of Buddha, all wrathful Buddhas, all compassionate Buddhas, all wise Buddhas, they are all embodied in Shakyamuni Buddha. So we can think of it that way. And as we look at Shakyamuni Buddha, there is light coming out from Shakyamuni, coming to Tracy's heart, coming to our hearts, coming to the heart of every sentient being. And the message Shakyamuni Buddha is giving us is, if you want to be free of suffering, I will guide you. This is what a Buddha does. That's the whole point. It's the whole point of the Bodhisattva path, and the whole point of us wanting to become enlightened is to help other sentient beings be free of their suffering and attain complete happiness. So that's the thing to think of. If you want to be free of suffering, I will guide you. And so this light coming from Shakyamuni Buddha, every ray of light imagine that it has a little emanation of Buddha on the end of that ray of light. And it goes into Tracy's heart, it goes into each one of our hearts, it goes into the hearts of every sentient being. So we'll do a half a mala of this, thinking these things. Don't worry about not seeing anything. Just have the sense that the Buddha is there in front of you, guiding you. If you want to be free of suffering, I will guide you. Tayata Om Muni Muni Mahamuniye Soha. 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 Now, before we go further, now I want us to all focus our energy on Tracy. Imagine Tracy is in front of us, and Tracy is facing the Buddha, and the Buddha's light rays are coming toward Tracy. And the Buddha's message is the same for Tracy. If you want to be free from suffering, I will guide you. And imagine that Tracy is completely open to this guidance. Okay, so we'll finish the second half here. Tayat Om Muni Muni Mahamuniye Soha. 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 There are also some other aspects to this mantra. It's an amazing mantra, actually. It contains the entire Buddhist path in it. The three munis, Muni Muni Mahamuniye, also refer to the path that the Buddha himself went through and the path that we will all go through on the path to enlightenment. The first Muni represents the capacity of a being who simply wants to have a higher rebirth in samsara, does not want to go to the lower realms. So if you look at the Buddhist story, say Jakata tales and the stories of the Buddha's life, at a certain point in his continuum of rebirths, he did not want to be born in any suffering realms anymore. He had an understanding of karma, that cause and effect is important, and impermanence. Things are constantly changing, constantly changing. So he realized that he doesn't want to be in the lower realms anymore and has the desire to have a fortunate rebirth so he can continue with his spiritual practice. That's the first meaning of the Muni. Being able to come out of the lower levels of rebirth, have a fortunate human rebirth so that you can continue with your spiritual path. The second Muni refers to the capacity of being of a middling level. And that is someone who wants to just be free, liberated from samsara. Liberated from samsara. This is also what the Buddha went through. Liberation from samsara. This is what arhats do. They've had it with cyclic existence and they want it to cease. They want the cessation of nirvana, which is liberation from samsara. That's the second Muni. And that requires a direct experience of the nature of reality, which is emptiness. But Buddha also realized that there was more to be done, that it wasn't enough just to be out of samsara when he recognized, I am connected with all these other sentient beings. How can I help them? It's not enough to be out of samsaric existence. I want to be of benefit to all other sentient beings. So this started the Buddha on the path of the Bodhisattva, which is the path that we are, the Mahayana path. That's the path that we are following, the teachings that we are following. And the path of the Bodhisattva takes you all the way through stages and levels until you reach enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And that is the Mahamuniye. That's the great Muniye. So there are three levels. The level of having a fortunate rebirth, the level of being liberated from the suffering of samsara, and the level of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So you can see that this mantra, the more you say it, the deeper it goes, and it contains the entire path in it. It's an incredible mantra. So now what I want us to imagine is that we're all still there in place, all the sentient beings. Tracy is there. She's definitely received blessing from the Buddha. We are there in support of Tracy at this time. And now coming out of Shakyamuni Buddha's heart is the Buddha of compassion, Chenrezig. Buddha of compassion has 4 arms and 4 hands, beautiful white color, beautiful peaceful face. And imagine that the Buddha of compassion then comes out of Shakyamuni's Buddha's heart and goes to, as we're looking at the Buddha, as you're looking at the Buddha, goes to the Buddha's left, which would be the Buddha's right, own personal right, but it goes to the left as we're looking at it. So this is what I want us to think now. And we're thinking in terms of Tracy here, okay? So the Buddha of compassion has the two central hands are holding what are called a jewel. And this is the mani. So the Buddha of compassion mantra is Om Mani Padme Hum. Again, Om refers to this ability to transform our body, speech, and mind. We all have this ability. We can transform it for the worse, or we can transform it for the better. And of course, the Buddha is teaching us, letting us know, if we don't want to suffer, we transform it for the better. So this is called our Buddha nature, Mani. It is the jewel that we have. The jewel in us is our Buddha nature, our ability to transform and go all the way to enlightenment, the capacity that we have. We have the exact same capacity, as Lama Yeshe said, exact same capacity as Buddha or Jesus. We can all do this. We just have to set the right causes and conditions in motion. Tracy can do this. So what we're doing is, imagine that we're say that the Buddha of compassion is sort of embodying us. Is come over and sort of taking over us like a coach, right? And that we have the 4 hands. So we're holding this beautiful jewel of Tracy's Buddha nature between our 2 hands of love and compassion. We want Tracy to be happy. We do not want Tracy to suffer as she goes through this process. So we're holding her in love and compassion. Then Chenrezig's right hand. So imagine in our right hand, we have a crystal mala. And we are, it's constantly going like this. And we are sending immeasurable joy to Tracy. The immeasurable joy that will take her all the way to enlightenment. Because enlightenment is immeasurable joy. Then in the left hand, we're holding a blue lotus. And this represents the ability of every being, including Tracy, to attain enlightenment. This means it has to do with equanimity. Everyone equally has this ability, whether they're the lowest of the lowest dregs, the worst scumbag you can imagine. They have that ability. Just like Lama Yeshe said, we need to recognize this in ourselves. And once we recognize this in ourselves, we will no longer think of someone as the ultimate scumbag. We will only want to think of them as having this potential, this huge capacity, and how can we help them to develop that? So as we say, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, think of this, think of Tracy. We're holding her Buddha nature in love and compassion. We're wishing her the immeasurable joy of enlightenment, and we know she has the potential to get there. So we'll say, this goes faster. So let's say a whole round, and we're focusing now on Tracy and imagining these thoughts going to her. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Omane pemi 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 pemi omane pemi omane pemi omane pemi omane pemi omane pemi hum. Hum, by the way, represents the essence of who we are. The essence of truth, the essence of who we are. Hum. All right, the last mantra that I want to do is it's also a quick one. Om Arapat Sana Di. This is the mantra of the Buddha of compassion. So what we want to imagine here is that Manjushri, sorry, a Buddha of wisdom, Manjushri. Thank you. So what we want to imagine then is we still have Shakyamuni Buddha in the middle in front of us. We have Chenrezig off to our left as we're looking at them. Then coming out of Buddha Shakyamuni's heart, remember, every Buddha shares all qualities. All these Buddhas are emanating from Shakyamuni Buddha. Out of Shakyamuni Buddha's heart comes Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, and takes his seat on a lotus throne to the Buddha's right as we're looking at it. Would be actually the Buddha's left, personal left. So this is a very important mantra because without having a realization of the nature of reality, we cannot actually become enlightened for the benefit of other sentient beings. We cannot actually become liberated from samsara without a realization of this. And this is what we will be talking about today. And this is, Tracy was familiar with all of these mantras, all of these practices. So she's right on board with all of this. So the mantra of Manjushri is Om again. Om refers to our ability, our capacity to transform our body into an enlightened body, to transform our speech into enlightened speech, to transform our mind into enlightened mind. Then we have Om A Ra Pa Tsa Na Di. And I'll quickly go through this because we're going to be talking about emptiness today. And emptiness is what the Buddha of wisdom, Manjushri, is all about. Emptiness. There are other ways to describe emptiness. Emptiness means empty of having any inherent self-existence. There is nothing that has any independent self-existence. Now, there's a flip side to that, which also means that everything dependently co-arises. This is where we're going to talk about last week, what we talked about 2 weeks ago actually, had to do with how our five aggregates of consciousness create the illusion of separateness, but also we can use them to understand dependent co-arising and non-duality. So emptiness, dependent co-arising, and non-duality are all synonymous. If you remember, the Buddha, when he became enlightened, realized that there was no duality between self and other. This is something we have to really start thinking about first conceptually. So this is what this mantra is about. This is saying the empty non-dual nature of self and phenomena is uncreated. It has no beginning. The empty, codependent arising nature, dependently co-arising nature of self and phenomena is uncontaminated and without stain. So the nature of who we actually are is uncontaminated. There is no stain there. We're the ones, through our misunderstanding, we are putting stains on our mental continuum, and we're playing those mistaken habits out on a regular basis. We have to turn this around. It also means that the non-dual, empty, dependently co-arising nature of self and all phenomena is what the ultimate truth is. When Buddha's talking about ultimate truth, that's what the ultimate truth is. things don't exist dualistically. Things arise codependently or codependently arise. Then this nature of who we are, the ultimate, the empty, non-dual nature of self and phenomena doesn't die. It doesn't die. And it also is not reborn. It always is. And then the last meaning of this mantra is that the names that we give to self and phenomena are merely labels. That's all they are. This is merely exists because we label it cup and give it the function of cup. In actuality, it is a dependent co-arising, and it is empty of any self existence on its own. And it is, and our experience of it is non-dual. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But this is what this mantra is saying. So I want us to just go through half a mantra of this. And I know Tracy has studied this. So we're just going to have some of these, any idea that took and all of that, just think about non-duality. Have this idea and have this sense when we're saying this mantra that Tracy is saying this mantra with us, and Tracy is understanding it, and Tracy is getting it. Okay? So it's Om A Ra Pa Tsa Na Di. 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 Sana de Oma Rapatana 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 Oma Rapatana de 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 Sana de Oma Rapatana 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 Oma Rabatana de 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 Oma Rabatana Sana de Oma Rapatana 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 de. Now, we close this mantra by repeating the last syllable many times. We'll do that again for half a mala, but I want us to think now when we're going is that we are awakening our understanding now. We are awakening our understanding of what non-duality actually means. We're going to talk about this when we get into the session. But just feel that you're awakening your understanding of this, that Tracy is awakening her understanding of non-duality, emptiness, dependent co-arising. Okay? As we say this, so we're waking up. That's what D means. Wake up, wake. Okay, thank you. I wanted to take time on those, and I'm sure we'll return to it. Anytime we can say any of these mantras, it is going to strengthen our practice. It's going to strengthen our understanding. I know that has been the case, my personal case. These mantras had very little, if any, meaning for me when I began studying Buddhism. I was just trusting basically what our teachers were telling us, but I didn't have the depth of feeling that I have now for them, and the sense of the actual powerful energy that is generated by saying mantras within your system. So I encourage everybody to say these to and to understand what the meaning, the symbolic meaning of the figures and the actual meaning of the syllables themselves, because it really helps a lot. Last time we were together, we talked about the Buddhist model of the mind. And I'm going to go over this again because it's extremely important, because it is actually going to help us understand what non-duality in Buddhism means. So if you recall, we were talking about mind and consciousness and the model of the mind. In Buddhism, mind and consciousness are synonymous. They mean the same thing. They mean awareness and clarity. Mere clarity and awareness. That's what the mind is. That's what consciousness is. When Buddhism is talking about mind, Buddhism is not talking about the physical brain. Buddhism is talking about consciousness. So there are, in Buddhism, 6 types of consciousness. Yes.
When we talk about the mind, there's something that I just noticed myself doing, and the reason I'm bringing this up is I have a feeling this is pretty pervasive, which is to think of, I have a mind in this dualistic way. I have me, and then I have my mind.
Well, this is what we do, yeah.
And I just want to point that out because that isn't the situation. The situation is
Well,
what we are as an existing thing is the mind.
yes, we are consciousness,
There
yes.
is no other, there's no,
Mhm.
there's no me and then my mind. I just really, that's a really big thing.
Well, yes, that's you're talking about the idea of self, me. This is ego, right? You're talking about the idea of self.
But I think we can all relate. Oh yeah, I have me and I have my mind. I think that's just our natural.
Right.
And I'm pointing it out because as you're about to go into this, I'm just noticing, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm sure
Sure.
this is mainly the default. And we have to start forcing ourselves to examine what that. And it's easy to say, oh yeah, that's, the projected non-existent self. Since it's such a pervasive default way we think of things, it's really important to, because, when you talk about becoming a Buddha, it's not like I'm becoming a Buddha and my mind's coming along with me. It's not like that.
Right.
There's non-dual conscious awareness that is purifying, 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 and somewhere along the way, we're going to drop the sense of there's me and my mind, somewhere in there.
Right.
I mean,
So
it's weird to think about, but
it's very weird to think about.
Going into this, I just thought, wow, that's really coming up big for me right now.
And the problem with us right now is that we are so embedded in me and mine and concretize that so much that if we just hear what you just said without the wisdom teachings, we could get a little schizophrenic.
Yeah.
So we really have to hear these wisdom teachings in order to understand what's being said. So yeah, but I get your point. It's important. It's very important. We have to get to this. So as I said, one of the aspects of the Manjushri mantra is the names that we give to self, me, I, me, and phenomena, cup, mala, table, they're merely labels. That's all they are labels. They are nothing. They are coming from the mind. And this goes against everything we as ego-grasping beings in samsara since beginningless time feel is true. We feel things objectively exist out there. Of course, this is real and exists exactly the way I perceive it to exist. Although we know that other beings will perceive this in a completely different way. They won't see what we see. For instance, we'll go back to Claudia's example of the fly. A fly does not see what we see.
Right.
doesn't experience that.
You can get into concretizing that whole thing.
You can concretize that, but the point is that every consciousness in whatever body they happen to be in is going to be projecting out from their particular set of aggregates what something is and what it means to them. This is why it's so important to talk about these aggregates of consciousness. I think we'll come back to it again and again, because a thorough understanding of this is really going to help us in understanding that the me and the my is merely a label, and that what we actually are is awareness and clarity. And we have the potential then to become whatever we choose to become. So far, we've chosen to be this because of our ignorance and lack of understanding. So there are 6 types. Well, no, let's go. I'll do it the way Kensor was it? Yeah. Kentrol Rinpoche, the way he laid it out, because I like his sequence of things. So we have, mind can be divided into 3: gross, subtle, and very subtle. So the gross mind, gross consciousness, are the 6 sense consciousnesses that we have. Those are eye, ear, nose, tongue, tactile, ear, nose, tongue, tactile, and mental consciousness. Those are considered to be the gross consciousnesses, okay? Then there is a subtle mind, or subtle consciousness. And the subtle mind, or the subtle consciousness, is what is referred to in Buddhism as the mental continuum, the continuum of our consciousness. We carry within us all the time imprints of every action of body, speech, and mind that we have habitually engaged in. And the more habitually we engage in some action of body, speech, or thinking, the more strong those imprints are, and we carry them from moment to moment to moment in our ever-changing, ever-present mental continuum. But because of these habitual tendencies that we have, we just keep bringing them in to every moment, every moment, every moment, and we carry them with us. Those are that's the subtle consciousness. The mental continuum, the Chittamatra school calls it the storehouse consciousness. It's where we keep all of our habits, our imprints of body, speech, and mind, our habits. Then there is the very subtle, and that is the clear light mind. And that is mere clarity and awareness. That is, if you want to think of it as the essence of who we are, the essence of who we are, Hung, the essence of who we are, is this clear light mind. And that clear light mind is always with us. It is beginningless, it is endless. So again, Buddhism talks about consciousness, beginningless and endless, very much in the same way that scientists talk about matter and energy. It just transforms.
If you to do a Venn diagram of this, the clear light would be the big circle. And
okay.
The subtle consciousness only exists in dependence on the existence of, you could almost say it's like the fundamental ground of the consciousness existing is clear light. And to have the phenomena that we're now labeling subtle consciousness is independence on the existence of the clear light. And similarly, the sense consciousnesses that we think of as gross due to, but all these things, it's not like compartments that are up in here and there. They're all assumed into the clear light. And again, if you think, going back to maybe my lack of sleep is causing me to think less dualistically.
Hey,
Because I can hear in almost even the way you're explaining it, this primordial way where you're just pushing the mind out there like it's something that I'm not, or something I own. And when, when the flip side was happening is this consciousness through its through its use of gross consciousness and apprehending forms and stuff has concocted the notion of a self, given it the label, let's say in my case, Kavita, and now I have this whole great relationship going on between this me and my mind, and oh, I have a subtle consciousness, great. Oh, I have
right.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it is almost a little frightening to dice it out in this way, because then we start to and it almost hyper concretizes it,
Yeah, I think
dualisticalizes it.
this is very difficult for us to wrap our heads around.
Talking, I was thinking, what would a yogi who had realized, non-duality, how would they say this? And I can feel it. They would say it differently because they're coming from an experience base of like, oh, it's just one massive.
Yeah, this is why they said when Buddha Shakyamuni was actually living physically on the planet, people who would come in contact with Buddha Shakyamuni would have these realizations, because he was just, it was felt, they could feel it, they could experience it.
Anyway, I just want to include that in your discussion of this.
Yeah, I think what we want,
Seemingly free, discrete.
I think what we want to not make the mistake of in concretizing then is to flip it and go, oh, well, then I'm nothing, and my mind stream is nothing. It's just all one. It's not all one. Our experience is not that. We each one of us have our own particular sets of habits and propensities that we're dealing with.
It's not that we have them. What we are, as Ravina would say, is we are nothing but.
We carry them with
That's
us.
what we are. That's what she said. We're nothing but a bunch of habits.
Right. We're nothing but a bunch of habits.
So
You're correct.
Dualistically separate yourself from your habits. You're arising every moment like a geyser with whatever.
Well,
habits.
right. I mean, we have to work with concepts here. We have to. Okay.
That's what we do.
Yeah. And I get your point. It's good. It's well made. It's well made. So these consciousnesses that we have, that all of us are, and we've separated them into these six, they are, except for the mental consciousness, which is drawing from our experience of our habits and propensities, they're basically dumb. So in other words, eye consciousness only perceives shape and color. That's it. That's it. The eye consciousness is not going, oh, that's a cup. I see a cup. The eye consciousness sees a particular shape, a particular color. That's it. It's not even identifying what that shape is or what that color is. It's just picking it up. It's just picking it up. Ear consciousness only picks up sound frequency. It's not identifying, oh, that's Molly chewing on her bone. That's what I hear. Or that's a bird chirping out the window. That is not the ear consciousness. The ear consciousness is simply picking up frequency, sound frequency. Same with smell, nose conscious. It's simply picking up odors. It's not going, oh, that's a disgusting, horrible odor. I smell a turd somewhere. It's not doing that. All of those, except for the mental consciousness, which is storing, holding our experience. And we're carrying the most habitual experiences that we've had with us. And so when we hear tweet, 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 we go to our storehouse mental continuum, which is the subtle consciousness, which is holding all of this. And out from that, in that storehouse, it goes, that's bird. I hear that noise. My mental consciousness then identifies that as a bird song. It's the mental consciousness doing the identifying. So you can see right away. And if you like that sound of the bird, it's a good feeling you have. If you are annoyed by that sound of the bird and want that bird to shut up, it's not a good feeling that you have. And this is all based on our experience as consciousness, what we've had and what we're carrying with us. This is really important for us to understand because what we tend to do is we just tend to look at something and say, that's what it is, and that's bad, that's good, that's, Mr. Orange hair, bad, really bad. That's a huge mistake we're making. Huge mistake. We are simply pulling from our own habitual sense of judgment and criticism and throwing it onto a particular shape or form or color. It's important for us to think about this. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for us to make the transformation that needs to be made in order to experience real happiness, freedom from suffering, and be able to help others to do the same. So I don't know, did I cover all the sense? Did I cover them all? The consciousnesses? Oh, tactile. Tactile, it only can sense roughness, smoothness, heat, cold, and the variations between that. It does not it does not feel the nice soft cushion that you're sitting on and go, oh, I love that. That feels so good. That's your mental consciousness and your habitual propensities doing that. The other consciousness is, like I say, they're just picking up particular things and they're not making judgments about them. The mental consciousness is making these judgments based on our own past experiences, habits, and propensities that we carry with us, which is why somebody can look at a particular movie or show on TV and say, oh, God, I love that. That's the best thing. Somebody else can look at it and go, I hate that. That show sucks. I don't even see what you see in it. That has nothing to do with the show. Nothing to do with the show. It has everything to do with us. This is when we're starting to talk about non-duality. This is what non-duality means. We're the ones giving everything the meaning that it has for us, our particular set of habits. So if we don't like what we are experiencing in our life, then we need to start thinking in a different way to recognize, as Lama Yeshe said, the incredible capacity we have for transformation, for positive transformation. We can go all the way to enlightenment and we can help others do the same. But we have to see what it is we're doing first. We have to understand what it is we're doing, which is why it's so helpful what Khentrul Rinpoche has done in the way he broke down these 5 aggregates and showed the process of how it works. He makes it very clear, to me anyway, what it is that we are doing. All of these things that, the other senses, other than the mental one, they're simply picking up something. They're not making a judgment. It is our mental consciousness, our habits that are making the judgments that are causing either pleasure or suffering. And that's it. That's it. Now, if we're interested in going further on the path and going to be free from suffering, there is something that Chandrakirti said in his text called Entering the Middle Way. And he said, there is no way that we can have a fortunate rebirth, such as the one that we all have right now. There's no way we can have that rebirth without practicing. It's the basic first steps, ethics and morality. We kind of want to gloss over that. We kind of want to go, oh, ethics and morality. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. Be kind, whatever. It's way bigger than that. It's huge. Ethics and morality is what's driving our habitual propensities. It's what's driving the grasping that the ego has. Lack of ethics, lack of morality. We need to understand clearly what is ethical and what is not ethical. And the Buddha laid this out. This enlightened mind laid all of this out for us. So this goes then, or I will put a link in the next study guide. This goes to the seven limb practice. And the heart of that seven limb practice is looking at your own mental continuum, seeing where your bad habits are, and transforming those bad habits with the opposite, one.
Ask you, in terms of labeling something as ethical and something that's not,
If it benefits.
so
If it is not of benefit, it's unethical. If it's harmful.
it would be helpful, I think, in a way for us to start to think in that more streamlined way instead of adding new elaborations of language, because if you think about, essentially, if you boil it down to the consciousness, it's a consciousness that has the habit of wanting to help others, other-centeredness, as opposed to a consciousness that is habituated to a diluted sense that it can somehow serve itself. I mean, if you think,
Right.
and so we label that ethics and this other.
Yeah, I mean,
non-ethics.
again, you're going to a very high level of this understanding, which is great. So we'll go there, all right?
That way.
So we'll go there.
Because it's also part of this problem of making it too dualistic, like ethics is something separate from the mind.
All right, so I'll go back to Chandrakirti, because I don't think I finished what it was that he said. There's no way we can have a higher rebirth without practicing ethics. Ethics is the key to having another rebirth like we have or better. That's the key. Without ethics, with a lack of ethical behavior, body, speech, and mind, you will find yourself going back into lower realms of existence simply because of karma and how karma works. What goes around comes around. It's a law.
Yeah, interrupt you with this here, but what he's saying is, by maintaining a virtuous other-centered mind, you will continue to work, and your experience will be increasingly reflect.
Right.
It's not like there's some rule, the problem with saying ethics, you have to practice ethics to have a higher rebirth. It sounds very transactional. What all he's really saying is, by adopting and maintaining and cultivating a non-harming beneficial consciousness, you're going to continue to move in a direction of increased joy and liberation.
Right. It may not be transactional, but it is transformative. You will transform.
Transactional. I'm good, so my karma will be good. I'm ethical, so when I have a rebirth, I'll get a good rebirth.
Well, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. However, the Buddha did lay it out. He did lay out clearly what we should be thinking about. So there are actions of body, there are actions of speech, there are actions of mind. You okay with that? Yeah. Okay. So in terms of body, we don't want to harm at all. We want to be of benefit, right? So that would mean protect life, don't kill. That's one of the body. The other would be generous. Don't be selfish. Be generous. Be beneficial by being generous. And generous is not simply material things. It's generosity in many, many ways. Your time, your attention, your care. Be generous. And then the third is, probably the best way to say this is, don't engage in any sexuality that is harmful to others, and be harmless sexually. So what I would say here is, as long as two consenting adults agree whatever they're doing is fine, that's fine. And it's not hurting them or anybody else. That's not being harmless. But it's up for them to make that decision. But do not harm somebody sexually, because that's not going to help you. Then we go to the ones of speech. So the first one that the Buddha gave is be truthful in your speech. So what does this mean? Be truthful. It doesn't mean let come out of your mouth every thought that you have in your head. Every feeling that you have, just express it. That's truthful. When we're talking about truth and we're talking about Buddha and the Buddhism, we're talking about the nature of reality. That's the truth. That everything is a dependent arising, that everything is interconnected. So if we're going to say something that's harmful and is going to break kind of an interconnected, interdependent situation with someone, then that is not speaking the truth. So we have to think, this is why we ourselves have to think very carefully for ourselves about all of these, I don't want to say rules, suggestions that the Buddha gave us to help us. All right. So there are four of speech. The second is to speak inclusively. When you're speaking, don't be divisive. We can see the terrible harm this causes. All we have to do is just look at the news and how divisive that is, how it has divided a population, almost completely divided a population. Just through speech, just through saying, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. We need to be inclusive in everything we say. The other thing, the next one, there are four, the third is we need to be supportive, not harsh, not critical, and critical in a harsh and destructive way. Criticism that is helpful, yes. We need to decide. So it's not just like Kavita says, it's not just, oh, don't criticize. No, it depends on how you're criticizing. If you're criticizing to actually be helpful and you know that your criticism of that person will help that person, then yes. And let them know that's why you're saying it, to be of help. And you can have some dialogue, you know. And then the fourth one, uh, watch what you say. Be mindful of what you say. Don't just let anything come out of your mouth. Don't be a chatterbox, in other words. Don't feel like, oh boy, it's quiet here. I need to fill the space with talking. Let me tell you about the movie I just saw. Or whatever. Don't be a chatterbox. When you speak, be mindful of what you're saying and think that what you're saying, is this of benefit? Is this helping? Because if it's not of benefit, then don't say it. Then don't say it. Then we go to mind, and mind is the most important of all because everything comes out from our consciousness. So we have to look at our consciousness, our mind. And the first is to rejoice in the good qualities and the good fortune of others. As ego self-grasping, ignorant, lost beings, what we normally do is we get jealous. We get jealous when we see somebody has a lot or more than we do, or they have better qualities, or they're better looking, or they have a bigger house or a better car, blah, 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 and on and on and on. What we need to do, and goes back to understanding how we are interconnected, rejoice that somebody has the good potential, the good capacity to have wonderful things. This is very, very important. Tracy was excellent at this. Tracy was excellent at rejoicing at others' good qualities. I noticed it right away. Better than most I've seen, including myself. The next one is always intend benefit. In your mind, always intend to be a benefit. Keep that front and center in your mind. Is this beneficial? I need to be beneficial. If something's not beneficial, change your mind about it. And then the last one, which is ultimately the most important one, is have the correct view of emptiness, dependent co-arising, non-duality. Have that view, have that understanding, cultivate that view. If we don't understand it yet, and we don't have a realization of it yet, then we just need to begin to cultivate ways to work toward that realization, which is what I believe Khentrul Rinpoche is helping us with in describing the way the aggregates function together. So any comments, questions? Well, or additions, No?
Really, it's kind of always fascinated me. I will just say this, since studying as a whole and talking about the 10 non-virtuous / virtuous, I know it's helpful in terms of our human existence to separate them into these 3 realms. And it has always been of interest to me that all of it is springing from the mental continuum. So even though it's helpful because of the way we exist right now to talk about our speech and our physical actions, they are all just servants of what our mind is doing.
Mhm.
We don't say something unless our mind first is generated, and we don't do something even if we can say it was, spontaneous or
Yeah,
instinctual. It's
right.
still something in your mental continuum has you habituated to do all these things. Like,
It's always comes from the mind, comes from consciousness. The big problems we get into is when we then express it through our speech and our actions and actually begin to hurt others because of it. This is where it disrupts the whole interconnected system and creates suffering and pain. That's where when we take it out of our mind and into our mouth and into our actions. But the place begins in the mind because everything stems from what we're thinking.
So would you say that the fortunate rebirth in this body, that we are given the opportunity to use this body to fix our karma that is in our mind stream, that our mind stream is actually holding, and so we're in this body, so actually I can do things now, good things, with my physical aspects to make other people's lives happy and comfortable, whether it's a chicken, a cockroach, an ant, and praying for a critter that you're going to run over in the car down in the next hour that you're not going to be aware of. Could you say that? So at the same time, though, even though this is not the mind, this is beneficial
Yes.
to what's going on wherever.
It's coming from your mind still.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Your
though.
mind is the boss.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But what we find ourselves in right now is something that appears as if everybody is separate and that we can affect them verbally and physically.
Exactly.
So where we need to start is how do we express ourselves in the world that seems to be out there? When we get into Nagarjuna, the world is not out there.
Well, it's something. You're something in your continuum. Your consciousness is habituated towards the wish to make others happy.
Yeah.
So
That's wonderful.
that is your
that's just
default in your continuum.
which can be a problem.
Well, if you're the more wise you get, or the more accurate your actions will be in terms of matching the other person's.
Why I'm learning to use, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, because everybody has a different. And this is where I was going. So it's actually a mental. The consciousness it then triggers a word because you're due to the level of your insight into that other out there person, let's just say, you think if I say this, that will make them happy. So that's why you would say something.
Yeah.
If I do this, that will make them happy.
Yeah.
So then the relationship going on is a mental continuum using the physical vehicle, splurting it out there, the other mental continuum through its physical. It's like 2 radios talking to each other, taking in, and if the guy sending has been accurate, I'll go, yeah, that's great. If the guy sending doesn't actually have clairvoyant insight into what will make me happy, they might have missed the mark. And how many of us have experienced what it is to
Yeah.
Right. We think we're saying or doing something that's going to be helpful, and the person gets pissed off. That happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
That happens. So everything really comes down. What matters is our intention. And even if we piss somebody off, if we have the intention to be of benefit, we can talk it through with them and
Just apologize.
apologize and say, I didn't understand. But because of our egos, we have a lot of trouble doing that.
And if they choose not to accept your apology, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Right. Right. I mean,
They take the Bodhisattva vows, one of the Bodhisattva rules of behavior is to accept apologies.
Yeah, well, so, but I'm not gonna worry about whether they're a bodhisattva or not,
No.
because that's.
he'll accept their
I
apology.
just- Yeah,
They may not accept his apology.
have a nice life.
And as a bodhisattva, you'd go, okay, sorry.
I think the thing that I think this is so weird. The things we do.
It is weird.
Our default mode is so weird because we are all, I mean, I'm just talking about my own experiences. I'm always assuming that my baseline understanding of things is accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but we've talked about this too. I see things totally differently than you, and I probably always will.
Everybody sees a different thing.
Yeah, the arguing habits.
Yeah, the point of when you reach enlightenment, you have reached a sense of omniscience where you can actually read very clearly, what would be exactly the thing you could say or do that would help somebody. What a wonderful quality that would be, right?
This reminds me of this morning. So there are AI bots now for people who are neurodivergent and how they should say something so that people who are not neurodivergent understand what they really want to say.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
This can also be kind of like tongue-tied. If you are really not, you're wanting to say the right thing to make somebody happy, but then realize, maybe I should just not say anything.
Well, but they can't express themselves,
Yeah.
so that's essentially.
Yeah, I mean, there are huge benefits to AI, and there are huge downfalls to AI, and we're going to just have to figure that one out as we go along.
There was, raised up with this consciousness. They never thought about Nagarjuna said, but our parents and the teachers, they just taught us how to do it.
So it's culture, wouldn't it be considered cultural?
So
Yeah.
since little, we were taught, okay, don't harm others because that's your body's.
How beautiful.
And then don't say anything without thinking. Don't think before you speak, right? I mean, we are all taught that when we were little. But they're actually creating the habit of
That's
putting in your consciousness software, I would say.
Yeah.
This is our hardware.
Yeah.
And whatever you are doing, creating the habit, that's actually like a software in the computer, right?
Yeah.
And then if you take that software out and put it in a different computer, which is going to a different life, in a
Mhm.
different body,
Yeah.
you will continue that software, but your computer keeps on changing. It's
Yeah.
like our body is changing, but the software keeps on going.
So those tendencies
It's like
will,
so
be
our body is like a
compassionate
hardware, and whatever you are creating, the consciousness, it's like a software.
and listening before you say something, and
Exactly. And then you are creating those habits of, if I say something bad, it's gonna hurt the other people's feeling. And our school's motto was others before self. So they
Yeah.
always taught us to think about others before self. So that became our habitual of thinking about others before you do something. If that makes that person happy, and usually when you try to make the other person happy, I mean, the result of is you feel happy.
yes,
Actually, the result is even you get happiness, right?
yes.
So that's what Buddha always said, experiment on yourself, on any action that you do.
Mhm.
Even though I love this shoes, but I give it to her and she really needs it. And when I see her wearing it, it gives me happiness. So that's the result of the happiness that I gave it to her.
Yes, absolutely.
It's probably on the teachings too, but like she said, I just came back from the yesterday.
And you had a good dose.
You guys all should go there. Such a high spiritual place, the Buddha temples and everything. I was missing everyone there. But I went to Sechin Monastery. I think it was created by the Rinpoche you're reading about.
Lama Yeshe?
No,
it
not
was
Lama.
good.
Delgo Rinpoche, right?
Delgo
Anyway,
Rinpoche.
Matthew Ricard, I don't know if you guys know him. He's the one who
He has a lot.
monitors the Sechen monastery now. Beautiful monastery, a lot of dormitory for the the lamas and all that. And they have a school right in the monastery. And then I went to the school and looked at the how things work. And they had those little essays, essays like the paragraphs and stuff written by the kids. And I couldn't take the picture, but you would be amazed how much they know about Buddhism on writing. Like she said, they probably don't know everything like we talked about.
Yeah.
Who said enough, but they were writing like essays and paragraphs to a point where, man, he was touching me. They
Wow.
know so much about how things should be conducted, the realms of life, what it means to be born as a human. And I was like amazed. These kids are learning this at this point where we're confused at 50s,
Well, and
So
can
that
you-
would make them a different person, I
it's
guess.
like try to imagine being a parent just trying to get your act together, and then you have to
Yeah.
deal with the kids, and you want to be wise, but you can't. And you get mad and you start yelling, and then this is, I mean, if a culture can raise children like it takes a village
It does.
to be able to show someone, even though a parent couldn't be able to,
Exactly.
because they have
Lee,
their
were
own
you gonna
stuff.
say something?
Anyway.
No, Lee went away. She,
As I go on.
we had turned the camera back on. I thought maybe we had it on.
I think it depends on practice more than just theory. We got to use it in every action.
Exactly.
Think before you do something, think
Mm.
before you speak something.
You can't do that when you watch the news.
So teachers, they always have to
Everybody's-
think before you do something. Even before an action, you think, is it gonna hurt someone?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be beneficial to someone?
Yes.
Think before you speak, just take a pause,
And that's so wonderful that that's occurring in the schooling
Yes.
Mhm.
of young people.
That's just,
That's what-
that's incredible.
Because that they're getting on a regular daily basis
They need to have
really good habits.
Yeah.
Didn't happen
right.
for most of us in the
Exactly.
West. Most of us in the West, it was almost the opposite. You can be anything you want to be, me, right?
Do we have any online people who want to make a comment or whatever?
So the thing that I've been thinking about all week, which was spurred on by our discussion 2 weeks ago, was the concept of neutrality and trying to think neutrally. And I pretty much have come to the decision or the conclusion, as a human, it's really hard to think neutrally about anything, because even when we're determining what we think is neutral, we're bringing all of our habitual thinking on, again, labeling something as good versus bad, what we desire versus what we don't like. So that's my 2 cents worth, is just how do we maintain that sense of equanimity when we have such a hard time being neutral in our thinking to begin with.
I'm gonna just quickly share kind of what I do nowadays in the world we are in currently is I just recognize that each thing that I am aware of that's happening, especially in the world, quote, out there, the environment, the business, the politics, all that, I just find it helpful to recognize that I don't actually know all the details of what's going on. And so my neutrality comes from recognizing that I only think I know what I know from something I read or heard that somebody else may or may not be accurate. And so I actually don't know. And I'm just going to get back to the business of working on myself. That's how I remain neutral, because I know that out there, everybody being driven by egos in samsara, that everybody out there is basically lying and motivated by their ego. So why would I, that's how I remain neutral. It's like going, wow, samsara, what a shitstorm.
Well, right. I mean, if you look at the way the Buddha lays out what those negative.
I hope that helps, Lee.
Definitely, I think it's, focusing on what our own ethical life is and working on that is a continual challenge every day.
Yeah, and that's something that we can do. We can actually do that. And as far as the rest of it goes, we can change our view of how we think about the world out there and how we think about others out there. We can change our view about it, but we can't really change anything else. I mean, if you think about the Buddha himself, if the Buddha could have changed all of this, it would be changed already. It would be perfect. It would be wonderful. What the Buddha can do is give us what he knows. Help us. Like I said at the beginning, if we don't want to suffer, the Buddha is there to guide us. It's not forcing it. It's not that kind of a religion. It's not forcing it down your throat. But it's just up to each one of us to decide, does this make sense? Are the Buddhist ethics, are they sound? And we have to look at those ourselves and decide for ourselves. But what I have found is that when I look at the negative sides of everything the Buddha says to avoid, it's so easy to see in the world. It's so easy to see everywhere. And I go, well, he's right. The Buddha's correct about this, and it is what drives cyclic existence, this existence of grasping at me and mine. Me and mine is the opposite of how do I help you today?
Yeah.
And yet, that is the thing that's going to make us the happiest, just like you said.
Yeah.
Other-centeredness is going to be the thing that makes us the happiest. And it's just we just have to develop the habit for it, and there are practices that the Buddha gave us to really help us develop the habit, and at the same time grow in our wisdom and our understanding of how things actually exist. That helps us. So I think we will stop here. We didn't get to Nagarjuna, but that's fine. We're talking about stuff that Nagarjuna talks about, so it's not like we're off the mark at all. Okay. Let's do dedication prayers. So we'll do the ones that are at the bottom, which say dedication prayers, and then we will do the final dedication, okay? And let's go ahead and do them in English so that we understand what we're saying. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the view of emptiness, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And then the final dedication. In all my lives, may I not be separated from true lamas, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma, fully perfecting the virtues of levels and paths. May I speedily attain the state of Vajradhara. And let's send these thoughts out to our Dharma sister, Tracy, that she may speedily attain the state of Vajradhara. Thank you. Thank you.
When somebody passes away, you start to remember only their good qualities.
I love that about.
I
That's always
already
happening.
have Tracy enlightened and in some Buddha land, just based on, the few bits of evidence,
Yeah, but even when I've had family members who have died and been
And what's the
extremely difficult and trying and caused a lot of pain and heartache and trouble. But what I have found is after they've gone, and I think about them and I understand that they were acting out the best that they could, what they knew, what their habits were. Nobody wants to be unhappy. Nobody wants to suffer. And so understanding that, and understanding that these family members only wanted to be loved, it changes my view of them. And I think much differently about them. I wish them only well and I want them to be happy. You know, I don't hold bad feelings about them. And that's because of Buddhism. So it's a very nice thing. Besides, it poisons our own mind stream if we just hold all of that. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
We'll see you next time. I'm going to stop the recording.